Have you ever seen the movie Inside Out? I have multiple times with my children. It is a movie about a little girl named Riley and the emotions that live inside of her head, processing her reactions and memories. Of those emotions, we have discussed who is green, joy who is yellow, sadness who is blue, fear who is purple, and anger who is red. This is a beautiful example of color associations regarding emotion. It's also a cultural example because the film is based in the US. Now you might be wondering why I'm sitting here talking to you about an animated Pixar movie, but did you know color affects performance on IQ tests, anagrams, numeracy tests, creativity tasks, difficult cognitive tasks, physical strength tasks, and in combat sports. Them et al. 1313. I came across this information when I was looking for scholarly resources regarding the psychological effects of color, and I found that there are many. The color effects psychologically are dependent upon multiple variables, some of which are culture, difficulty of task at hand, as well as color associations. Culturally, in this context, is going to look at both where your family is from as well as where you were raised. In the US, the colors we associate with emotions are different than other countries. When looking at a study, we associating 12 focal colors and 4 negative emotions, we found that Americans associated envy with black, green, and red, while Russians associated envy with black, purple, and yellow. Poles connected anger, envy, and jealousy with purple, whereas Germans associated envy and jealousy with yellow. Them et al. 1313. Yet another study that uses the stimulus grid, shown here, involving Mexican students, showed that there was a consensus of associated more than 20% with sexuality being red, death being black, white being innocence, green being nature, and dirtiness being brown, and a consensus between 10 and 20% of gray being sadness, pink being femininity, orange being activeness, yellow being brightness, and blue being passivity. Them et al. 1312. Them et al. Explains that furthermore, it is not clear whether color effects are mediated by categorical colors, as in all shades of red, or a single exemplar of a color, as in cherry red, or even again by the colorimetric dimensions, such as lightness, a lighter red versus a darker red, 1313. This takes us into the effects of cool versus warm tones. While culture is a huge influence on the effects of color, so is the tone of the color. The difficulty of a cognitive performance seemingly corresponds with the positive and negative effects of cooler or warmer tone backgrounds, with findings that on low cognitive load tasks, simulation for warm colors was not a hindrance because there was not as much attention needed for the task. Afifi, Krumri, Mancuso, and Trammell 171, and vice versa. What it means is the simulation of the warmer color helped to keep people on task for more mundane tasks, whereas the cooler colors was causing people to become distracted or daydream because they were not simulated enough. That works on the flip side as well. Things that needed more focus mentally did better with cooler colors than warmer colors, because warmer colors seem to provide a distraction and too much stimulation. Overall, a warm tone background paired with cool lighting and a cool tone background paired with warmer lighting was the most effective for productivity, as well as negating any negative effects of the color of the walls, as in being a room that's blue could cause sadness, or a room with anger could cause anxiety. Moving on to conceptual associations, which I feel are a little more widespread and can be spread amongst cultures and peoples and times. We look at one really well-known one, which is red means go, or red means stop and green means go, as in the case of the traffic light. So color theorists have assumed that colors could carry specific meanings that may arise in part from learned associations. Buhausen et al. 1233. Some examples of negative learned associations is a small child touching something that is hot and also red, and going on to believe that all things red are dangerous or cause pain. Another one would be a small child that hates broccoli, seeing something that's green and refusing the food because they automatically associate green with the taste of broccoli. Buhasan et al. Goes on to say that these types of associations could produce either avoidance or approach motivation that mediate the impact of color during task run solution, 1233. As you can see, there are many things that influence the psychological effects of color. And to re-summarize what I went over, we saw a major variety in color effects when we applied that cultures have many different color associations, just like their greetings differ and even raising children differ. Every culture does everything differently. They're different cultures. Then we are able to see that even though warm colors get a bad rap, they do have positive and functional psychological effects if they're used correctly. We also learned that the cooler colors can hinder on lower cognitive tasks, which landed us at the most independent variable of color effects, which could be dependent on the individual as well as the culture, and that's color associations. We all experience color in our own realm of reality. Thank you.